Hello everyone, my name is Dinda Fitriani. I'm the International Relation Communication student of LSPR Communication and Business Institute Jakarta. And I'm one of the students under the supervision of Mr. Charles Bonar Sirait as my mentor and my lecturer. In this occasion, I would like to explain to you about the difference between the climate change and the global warming that is very important for the sustainable world. Now, you've probably heard of global warming and climate change. In this video, we're going to take a look at the difference between two of them, what causes them, and what the consequences could be. If we take a look at the Earth spread all the way around the surface is protective layer of gases, which we call the atmosphere. And it basically acts like an insulating blanket or a greenhouse keeping in the perfect amount of the sun's heat energy. So the Earth stays at a nice temperature all the time. To see how this works, let's zoom into the surface of the Earth. As the sun heat energy comes down towards the Earth in the form of short wavelength radiation, it passes through the atmosphere and hits the surface of the Earth. Some of the energy is absorbed and hits up the ground, but most of it is either be emitted or reflected back into the atmosphere towards space in the form of longer wavelength radiation. Although some of this energy does make it back into space, most of it actually ends up hitting particles of gas in our atmosphere, which absorb with the energy, and after a short delay, they remit the energy in random direction. This means that some of energy will re-emitted towards the space, and some towards the Earth. Either way thought, just like before, the most of energy will collide with other gas particles before can leave the atmosphere. And this process of being absorbed and then re-emitted by different gas particles happens over and over again, which means that the heat energy stays close to Earth far longer than if there was no atmosphere, which keeps the Earth a nice warm and stable temperature. The problem is that because humans produce so much of these gases concentrations in our atmosphere is increasing, and so the greenhouse effect is getting stronger, which has led to the global warming. For carbon dioxide, there are two main reasons that levels of rising. One is because we're burning loads of fossil fuels, which release the carbon that was locked up inside the fuel as carbon dioxide. And then the second is that we're chopping down loads of trees, which is called deforestation. This means that is less photosynthesis, which is an important process that removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Likewise, there were also two main reasons that methane levels are increasing. Firstly, farm animals produce methane during digestion, which then gets released into the atmosphere. And then the second is that we produce huge amount of waste, which sometimes releases methane as it's decomposed by microorganisms. Now, we pretty much know for certain that the Earth is getting warmer because we have records going back 100 years, and as you can see, the steady is increased. However, the consequences that is warming will happen in our planets are much harder to know because there are so many variables to take into account, which make it hard for scientists to make models of what will happen. What we do know though is that global warming will have a significant impact on our planet, and we can refer to this impact as climate change. It's kind of hard term to describe, but it basically refers to all of the effects of global warming on the climate. And remember, the climate just describes long-term weather patterns across the entire planet, rather than a daily weather in a particular place. For example, one of the consequences of global warming is that weather events like droughts, hurricanes, and floods will become both more common and more severe. So we can describe this change with the term of climate change. And another consequences of global warming is sea level rise, which actually happens for two different reasons. One is that the higher temperature will cause more ice to melt, which it will flow into the oceans. And the second is that as the water in the oceans warms up, it expands, and so its volume will increase, making the sea levels rise even more, and in some places, this might lead to the seasonal flooding and even the submersion of entire island and coastal towns. In addition to all of this climate change, will also have more general impact on the wild organism across the world. As temperature and rainfall patterns change, species that were perfectly adapted to their environment might not be able to survive anymore, and in some cases, species might be able to adapt to the new conditions or migrate to other regions where the conditions are better. Unfortunately, lots of species can't adapt or immigrates fast enough, and biodiversity is likely to fall dramatically in the coming decades. As we bring our climate change issues in the world and global warming as part of important sustainable world issues, I would like to thank you for your all attention, and I hope that this study session gives all of you a clear understanding of climate change and the global warming. If you have need detailed information regarding the issues, kindly text in the comment column below this video. Have a great sustainable world. Thank you!